Next, let's see if we can compute an equilibrium with tax in a market that we've seen before. So we looked at this market for beagles last time, looking at a price ceiling in the market. This time we're going to add in a tax, a very large $300 tax paid by the sellers in this market. So how are we going to incorporate that? We already know what the equilibrium price is. It's $500, and whoops, we've got an equilibrium quantity of 70,000, but that doesn't work with the tax, right? If the price the sellers received stayed at $300, then the sellers would no longer be willing to provide 70,000 beagles, right? Because if they received 500 and then had to pay 300 onto the government, they would in the end get only $200, and so they would only provide 10,000 beagles, and that's not an equilibrium, right? On the other hand, if the buyers got forced to pay all of this tax, the quantity they'd be willing to buy would no longer be 70,000. We actually don't have that line on the table, but we do know if they were forced to pay 700, they'd only want 50,000 beagles, and so that wouldn't. So at 800, it looks like it would probably be 40,000, and that's not a match on the quantities either. We need to somehow figure out what the new equilibrium with a $300 tax is going to be. Well, our equilibrium is going to have two features to it. The first feature is the quantity's got to be the same. Quantity demanded and quantity supplied both have to be the same for it to be an equilibrium. But the buyers and sellers don't pay the same price, or don't face the same price now, right? The price the buyers face is $300 more than the price the sellers face. So what we're going to be looking for is two lines on this table where we have quantities that are the same, one in the demand column, one in the supply column, and prices that are $300 apart. Okay, so let's look at one here. Here's one, whoops, $300 and 90,000, $600 and 90,000. That looks like it could be an answer here. Let me circle those. Does this make sense as an equilibrium with tax in this market? It doesn't. Why doesn't it? Well, for one, we know a tax is going to reduce the quantity, and this quantity is higher than the original equilibrium quantity. But why? Well, how did we get this as a wrong answer? Well, what's happening here is the buyers are paying $300 and the sellers are receiving $600. In this case, the sellers are getting extra. This, in fact, is the answer if I had asked for a subsidy, which we'll look at after this exercise. But that's wrong. That's not what we want to do. So let's fix this up. What do we need to do? We need two lines on the table that are $300 apart where the quantities are the same, but it's got to be lower than the original quantity. Can you guys see it? There it is. If the buyers pay the sellers 400 and then an extra 300 onto the government, then the buyers want to buy 50,000 beagles. The sellers receive $400, and at that price they're willing to provide 50,000 beagles. So this then is our equilibrium with tax in the market.